Most people see the blur. I see the physics. I'm Brian Teacher. Let's get to work. Last night, I almost took a serious fall. And I want to tell you about it because reflecting on it later that evening, I connected it to something that I think explains what Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic experience every single time they step up to return a 140-mile-an-hour serve. I have 2 hip replacements and a shoulder replacement. The shoulder was done in the last year. The absolute last thing I want to do is take a bad fall and end up back in surgery. I have to stay in shape, weights, yoga, breath work, but still, a bad fall at my age, 71, with my hardware is a serious thing. Last night, I was waiting in the line outside a modern dance performance. Packed crowd, lots of noise. There was some confusion about which line we were in, so I took 2 steps backward to turn around and check. I had no idea there was no ledge behind me. 2 steps down, and as my foot found nothing but air, something happened instantly. Time slowed down completely. It felt like an eternity from the moment I lost my balance to when I finally came to rest on the floor. I felt my foot hit the first step. I was able to lift up to try to get my balance. Then I twisted, went around, hit the next step, going down until I finally came to a stop, bracing myself with my right shoulder. My wife, Laurie, was watching the whole thing, and she said it looked like I was moving in slow motion, like my body was finding its imbalance instead of collapsing. I walked away okay. I was definitely shaken and a little stiff. But that evening, reflecting on what had happened, I thought, what was that? How did time slow down like that? How was I able to control my body on 3 steps I could not even see? And then it hit me. That is exactly what these champions experience. That is the zone. And today we're going to talk about the brain science behind how Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic slow down time on a tennis court and what every player can learn from it. Hi, I'm Brian Teacher, Australian Open champion, former top 10, longtime coach, and founder of the Full Court Tennis app. Let's start with the physics, because the numbers alone tell you something incredible is happening. A tennis court is 78 feet long. At 140 miles an hour, a serve crosses a net and reaches the returner at roughly 0.38 seconds. That's the total window. Standard human reaction time, the time it takes your brain to consciously see something and respond, is about 0.25 seconds. So do the math. The time your conscious brain has registered the ball has been hit, you have nearly used up all the time you have. Conscious thought is physically too slow to return a 140-mile-an-hour serve. So what are they actually doing? Here's the best way I can explain what is happening in a champion's brain. And I think this is something that has never been explained quite this way before. Most people process information at roughly 60 frames a second. That is how we experience the world, 60 frames per second. When a champion enters the zone, 2 things happen simultaneously. Their brain shifts to processing at what feels like 1,000 frames per second. More frames, that is only half of it though. The other half is what is packed into each frame. An average player returning serve picks up sparse information. They see the ball. Maybe they see coming left or right. That's about it. But a champion, because they've done this thousands and thousands of times, because they have trained themselves to read the language of the body in the racket, they are packing dense, rich data into every single frame. The server's shoulder dip, the toss height and the location, the wrist angle at the strike, the sound of the strings, all of it simultaneously, all of it processed in real time. More frames per second and more data packed into each frame. That is a double advantage. And that is why the ball appears to slow down for them. Not because physics changed, because their perception of it changed. Their brain is collecting so much more information per unit of time that time itself feels stretched. The human brain, when it is programmed right and trained right, is better than any AI. It is truly remarkable what it can do. What I experience on those stairs has a name, tachypsychia, a survival mechanism rooted in the amygdala. When your brain perceives mortal danger, it floods your system with adrenaline. Time appears to slow down. Senses sharpen. Everything narrows to survival. My nervous system took over completely, bypassing my conscious brain entirely, and executed a program built from decades of racket sports, court movement, yoga, and physical training. That was my data set. My body knew what to do. My conscious mind was just watching. On a tennis court, a player is not in mortal danger. So the brain gets to do that same heightened state through a different pathway, transient hypofrontality. This is the neuroscience between what athletes call the zone. Transient means temporary. Hypo means less. Frontality refers to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for overthinking, self-doubt, the inner voice that says don't double fault, or the whole stadium is watching. When a champion enters the zone, their brain reduces activity in that prefrontal cortex. It shuts off the inner voice, and by doing that, it hands full control to the basal ganglia and the motor cortex, the automated systems that operate at lightning speed. Without the lag of conscious thought, perception sharpens. The frames per second go up. The data per frame gets richer, and time stretches out. Now, here's what the best returners in the world are actually reading. And I want to be precise about this because I think the way it is usually described misses the point. They are not just watching the ball. They are reading the server's entire kinetic chain, the language of the body, from the moment the server begins their motion, the shoulder dip, the toss location, the angle of the back arch, the acceleration of the racket head, the wrist position in the milliseconds before contact, the sound of the strings at impact. All of that information is being collected simultaneously and continuously, and their brain is front-loading the math, calculating trajectory, speed, and spin before the ball even separates from the racket. They have already made their decision. They are already moving. The ball is still in the air. If you wait until the ball crosses a net to read it, you're done. It's too late. Champions pick it up off the strings at the exact moment of contact. The feet are already moving. The racket is already going back. The pivot is already happening. And in the Full Court Tennis app and website, you can actually see this. You can move the action back and forth, frame by frame, and watch exactly when the top pros initiate their movement relative to the moment of contact. That gap between when an elite player moves and when an average player moves, that is what you are training yourself to close. Now, I want to give you the most actionable technical insight in this entire episode, something that is counterintuitive and that most coaches never teach. The split step. You have heard about it, but the timing of it is everything, and most players get it wrong. Here's the sequence. As the server's racket accelerates upward toward the ball, you fire your legs and initiate the hop. You want to reach the highest point of your split step to be completely in the air at the exact millisecond before the ball strikes the server's rings. Not before, not after, at the moment of contact. Now, here is the hack. While you're in the air, while gravity is pulling you back down, your brain is processing all those kinematic cues. It just read off the server's body. You're using your air time to do the math. By the time your feet hit the court, your brain already knows exactly where the ball is going. So instead of landing flat-footed and having to freeze for a quarter of a second while your visual cortex catches up, then having to generate entirely new kinetic energy to push off, your feet hit the ground like coiled springs and immediately redirect that downward energy laterally. You explode into the pivot. You are loading the racket before the ball has even crossed the net. That air time is not wasted. That air time is processing time. That's one of the most elegant pieces of biomechanics in all of sport. And the top returners in the world, Djokovic is the master of this, do it instinctively because they have done it 10,000 times and they read it accurately. Now let's talk about how the three best players in the world right now actually train their minds to access this state consistently because they all do it differently. Well, we know Djokovic meditates. He practices mindful meditation to quiet his mind. He uses affirmations. He talks about staying present, one point at a time. not attached to the last point, not projecting to the score of the trophy, just this ball right now, this moment. When the mind is fully present and the inner voice is quiet, the automated systems take over. The frames per second go up, the data gets richer. Alcaraz does structured mental preparation. And interestingly, he plays chess. He uses chess to train his brain, to see movements ahead, to calculate multiple possibilities simultaneously, to stay calm while processing complex information at speed. That is exactly what returning a 140-mile-an-hour serve requires, seeing the move before it happens. Yannick Sinner uses what is called formula medicine, structured, methodical, precise, the same approach he used to rebuild his serve from platform to pinpoint. He maps out the mental game the same way he maps out the physical game. Everything accounted for. Nothing is left to chance. 3 completely different approaches, same destination. A quiet, focused, present mind that can pack 1,000 frames per second with rich data and react before conscious thought even gets involved. I want to be honest with you. I've not experienced the zone at the level these guys have to do what they do for 5 hours straight in a Grand Slam final with millions watching. That is an entirely different level of human performance. But I have won a major championship. And when I won the Australian Open, I was doing a lot of affirmations and meditations at that time in my life. It helped me stay balanced. It helped me stay present, one step at a time, one point at a time. And then in those moments when it was all coming together, time slowed down. The noise went away. I was just playing tennis. The inner voice was quiet. The automated systems were running, and the data was coming in clear. I would have liked to have stayed in that more consistently through my career, but you learn what you learn when you learn it. And looking back now at the neuroscience, it all makes perfect sense. The affirmations quieted the inner voice. The meditation trained presence, and presence allowed the automated systems to take over and pack those frames with data. It's the same for every player at every level. You do not have to be Djokovic to experience a version of this, but you have to build the conditions for it. So how do you build this? You cannot force the zone, but you can build the architecture that invites it. It starts with repetitions, thousands of repetitions from the right movements until they shift from explicit memory, conscious thought, to implicit memory, automated reflex. The more automated your strokes become, the less cognitive load they require. This frees up neurological bandwidth for reading cues and packing data into every frame. But the repetition has to be the right repetition. If you are drilling the wrong technique, if you have the wrong image in your brain, you are building implicit memory around a flawed formula. And when the zone kicks in, the automated system executes the flaw perfectly, faster and cleaner, and completely wrong. Get the formula right first. Study the essential ingredients. See what the top players are doing. Compare yourself to them. Build the right image in your brain. Then drill it. Then clear your mind. Trust your formula one task at a time, one point at a time. Because if you think about anything other than one task, the score, the crowd, the last mistake, you'll lose the thread. The inner voice will come back. The frames per second will drop, and you'll be back to reacting instead of anticipating. These guys are so trained and so on it, 5 hours at the highest level, rising to the crunch points, ignoring the pressure because their mind is always clear and their formula is always trusted. It's truly incredible what the human brain can do when you program it right. And that is exactly what the Full Court Tennis app and website is built to help you do, because you cannot build the right implicit memory from the wrong image. You cannot trust a formula you have never verified. You cannot quiet the inner voice if you are not sure your mechanics are correct. In the Full Court Tennis app and website, you can move the action back and forth, frame by frame. You can zoom in and out and see the whole picture. You can track the ball from the exact moment it leaves the service strings and see how the top pros are reacting, how early their feet are moving, how quickly the racket is going back, how their body is already loading before the ball crosses the net. You can see the split-step timing. You can see the air time. You can see the exact moment of commitment. Compare that to your own footage. See the gap. Close the gap and build the right formula. Drill it until it becomes automatic. Then clear your mind and let your brain pack those frames with the data it was built to collect. I'm Brian Teacher, Australian Open champ, former top 10, and founder of the Full Court Tennis app. Download the Full Court Tennis app or sign up at fullcourttennis.com. Build the right formula. Drill it until it's automatic. Stay present, 1 point at a time. Trust your physics. Let your brain do what it was built to do. And tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced time slowing down on a tennis court? A moment when everything got quiet and you were just playing? I want to hear about it. See you on the court.